So, who starts?
Okay, so we should start by introducing ourselves and then Tara.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start.
Giulia is a 23-year-old Italian student from Padova. She's studying veterinary science. Like me, she has very limited knowledge of spirituality and mindfulness, but she enjoys activities like rock climbing, horseback riding, circus arts, and anything that really allows her to connect with nature.
Thank you, Ale. Okay, so now on to Ale. Alessandro is a 15-year-old student living in Manchester, UK. He is currently attending year 11 at Stratford Grammar School. And he's passionate about world politics, diving, and spending time in the Dolomites, which I understand. Alessandro doesn't really have any experience of meditation, and he's mildly skeptical about its properties.
Guilty as charged. So, Tara Brach, you're incredibly famous in America, but in like Italy, we're just gonna give like a quick introduction. They'll have subtitles. So Tara Brach is a renowned psychologist, meditation teacher, and author whose work bridges the practices of Western psychology and Eastern spiritual traditions. Known for her accessible and transformative teachings, Tara has been instrumental in introducing mindfulness and compassion practices to a global audience.
So her revised edition of Radical Acceptance, a seminar book in the mindfulness movement, continues to inspire readers to embrace themselves and their life's challenges with clarity and kindness. Tara is also the creator of the widely embraced rain meditation framework, which is a practical tool for navigating emotional pain and cultivating inner peace. That's right. Okay.
Now I think we'll move on to the questions. Giulia?
Okay, so the first question we planned on asking you was how did you become interested in the spiritual path or Buddhism in general?
Yeah, so in a way, there are three different reasons I got interested. And the first one is in some way I just was, as a teen, a kind of truth seeker. And it's like the question, what's the nature of reality? What is this? I just was a seeker. And I'd go into nature and have really amazing experiences, started doing some yoga and meditation, and did some psychedelics, some drugs, and it all kind of like woke up my mind in a way that I thought, wow, there's so much more than what my daily habit of thinking shows me. So that was one reason. The second reason was that I emotionally was feeling insecure about who I was. I felt a sense of not being enough, that something was wrong with me. And so spiritual practice had that promise of helping me come to peace with myself. That was the second reason. The third, I was a political activist and very left-wing. And we were all very much, it's us against them, and we were against the police and against the conservatives. And when I started doing yoga, it became clear that the change I wanted in the world wasn't going to happen from that kind of combative, angry place. It was going to come more from an open-heartedness and a clarity. And so that really made me feel like I want to train my heart and mind and explore more deeply the spiritual path as the grounds for social change. So I hope that helps, because there were a bunch of different reasons that came together.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I've got a much more boring question, but I got to get to this. What does your book, Radical Acceptance, do as a book?
Alessandro, I hope that's not a boring question, because the book is, for me, it was like my biggest challenge was what I call the trance of unworthiness, feeling like I was falling short as a human. I wasn't coming through in relationships. I didn't like my body. I didn't like, I wasn't contributing enough to the world. always not enough. And what radical acceptance teaches about is it gives ways of practicing paying attention and ways of coming into relationship with your own heart and body and mind, so that you really actually can trust your goodness, trust that you're okay, that you're enough. And I don't know about you, but for most people I know, there's a lot of self-doubt. I don't know, do you see that in your generation?
Absolutely.
Definitely. I see it in
Our
myself.
generation, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does it show up? What are you aware of?
I mean, we both have, like, for example, a lot of friends who are undergoing therapy and stuff like that, really. So,
Yeah, I mean, I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm still working on so many things. But
Yeah. So,
it's
I
beauty of
mean, thank you for naming that. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. It's big. And I think it's more now than it was even when I was younger. But when I started practicing yoga and meditation, I started finding ways of changing my relationship with myself. And that, of course, changed my way of being with other people. You know, I went from being really insecure to actually trusting, oh, we're going to meet each other and we'll like each other. You know, a lot less self-doubt. So, radical acceptance teaches people how to be more present, you know, how to be more open-hearted, and how to work with difficulties when they come up. And I'll give you an example. I don't know about you, but I can get nervous before I'm doing an interview. I can get did you feel any anxiety?
yeah.
It's natural. Well, in the old days when I would get anxious or nervous before something, then I would judge myself for it. I would say, oh my God, I can't believe I'm feeling like this. And either that or I'd ignore it and pretend it wasn't there, or just try to move through it. But through radical acceptance, through writing it and teaching it and practicing it, instead before I do an interview, I'd say, oh, nervous. I just name it honestly. And then I just kind of bring some kind attention to it. And it might still be there, but who I was felt larger, like there was room for it. I wasn't being dominated by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
like also like dismissing your feelings and how you feel in determinate situations, of course, doesn't help with building a healthy relationship with ourselves, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly right. You can't really be intimate with others if you're at war with yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
You just can't be close because you always think, well, if they really find out who I am, they're not going to like me. So you really have to befriend yourself in order to get intimate with others in a real way. So it changed my life to do these practices.
So if you agree, we can go on with the next question, which is also related to the book. And it is, why did you feel the need to update the book with new chapters and a new introduction after the first edition?
You know, a lot of times people talk about meditation and spiritual life like it's this inner process that's removed from the world. And really, you can't live a life as a whole human, as a spiritual, awake human, and just be working on the inside. It also has to do with how you're in relationship with everything else. So people would say, well, how could you bring radical acceptance to the world to, let's say, climate disasters? Are you accepting climate change? And what happens with radical acceptance is the power of being present with what's going on in the world and letting your heart feel it, like really feeling the pain of animals and feeling the pain of humans that are really vulnerable. Some of us have the privilege not to immediately feel climate change, but the people that are most vulnerable feel it. Having the courage to feel that, really feel it, will then bring you to respond in a way that's much more compassionate for the greater good. So I wanted to make clear in this new edition that the practices of radical acceptance, of presence, of compassion extend to our world. If we really want to be a whole human, that means caring about non-human animals. That means caring about this living earth because we belong to it. So I wanted to extend it in that way, and it felt important. And one of the things that most kind of grabs my attention is the pain of racism. And I really wanted to bring attention to how the more we practice presence, the more we can start seeing our own biases. Like people have a lot of blind spots. We don't think that we're biased when we are. And yet, if you're living in a human society, you think society's thoughts. And it's very hard not to have that filter. And meditation helps us undo the filter. It helps us see past our racism or our sexism or any of the other ways that we put people down and really connect in a heart-to-heart way. So I wanted to bring that forward more. And I also wanted to be able to share more about the rain meditation in the new edition.
That's good.
Are we clear to go into the next question? Is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, I think that's about it.
Great. Once again, a lot of our audience will be hearing about you for the first time. So would you mind explaining the concept of rain and how it's so central to your teachings?
Oh, thank you for that question, Alessandro, because that rain is central. It's an acronym. It's an English word that goes recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. And the thing that happens with most of us is when we get reactive, like if somebody criticizes you and you get angry, or if you feel hurt, it happens really quickly. And the times we most need presence and we most need to be in touch with things, we're completely in a reaction. So rain gives us a way to cut through the reaction and find our way back to a place of balance and sanity and really in touch with ourselves. It's 4 steps that are actually fairly simple. So they combine mindfulness and heartfulness or compassion. So, well, let me ask you this. Would you like just to get a taste of it? We'll do it together.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have in mind a situation recently maybe that brought up really unpleasant feelings? Something that happened where you felt angry or hurt or upset in some way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and anybody listening, you can try it at the same time, and maybe we'll do a longer version later. But so the first question is, if you let yourself go to right in that moment when you're most triggered, and you might close your eyes for a moment, just to check out the moment when you felt most triggered, like what was happening, see it in your eyes, your image, remember if somebody was speaking, what they were saying. And when you sense you're most triggered, what is the primary emotion that comes up? What's the strongest feeling? Can you, if you don't mind saying it out loud, what comes up?
For me, it's anger.
Anger,
Yeah.
okay. Both
Irritation.
of you. Okay,
More like,
good.
yeah, anger, irritation.
Okay,
Mix.
recognize means that you just name it. Like you just said to yourself, okay, anger, irritation. The A of rain means you allow it. So take a moment right now and just sense inwardly, okay, this is here. It's like a wave in the ocean. It belongs. You know, it's not everything in the universe. It's like a weather system. You know, anger comes. So on some level inside, just say, okay, I'm allowing this, allowing it to be here for the moment. Okay, that's the A of rain. Now the I of rain means you investigate. So you might again close your eyes and feel where the anger is inside you. And you might sense if there's something underneath the anger, like maybe there's fear or hurt or something else going on. And just feel your body as you do that. Just feel your throat, your chest, your belly, and sense, was there anything else under there as you investigate in an embodied way what it feels like that you notice? Is there anything either of you notice when you investigate under the irritation and anger?
Yeah, it definitely comes from something else.
Yeah. Do you have a sense that in some way you're feeling hurt or put down or
Yeah,
yeah,
like some kind of I don't know, maybe a repeated pattern that when repeated brings out that feeling.
when repeated, say that again?
When repeated, it brings out that feeling of anger, for example, in this case.
Yeah. And underneath the anger, your sense of what's going on in your heart, your body is, are you feeling hurt or put down or pushed away or that somebody's not caring or what's going on?
Yeah, exactly
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
said. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Alessandro?
I'm not quite sure how to describe it, honestly. Like kind of just like I feel it from like part of me, almost. Like it's coming from more like it's the not just the external thing, but also like the internal, I
Yeah.
guess.
And you can feel where it is in your body because you
Yeah.
put your hand. Okay, so last part, just close your eyes and put your hand right where you feel it the most. And go back into the situation so you can feel it from the inside. And there's this energy there, this feeling. Maybe it's tight, maybe it's hot, maybe, we could sense that, for you, Julia, there's a sense that there's been some hurt. And just sense in these moments what, and see if you can put your hand there, right where you feel it. Because you had your hand, Alessandro, right on your chest. Yeah, right, that's right. And Julie, where do you feel it most? Yeah, okay. So as you close your eyes, just sense that part of you, what does it most need when it's feeling this way? What kind of a reminder does it need? What would help that part feel some healing? Not if somebody else did something, but what can you, your own wisdom, remind yourself, or your own kindness, remind yourself? It might be simply just that it's okay to feel this, or just trust your goodness, or you're okay, or this isn't about you, it's about somebody else, or this is going to come and go. Something, some message of wisdom and kindness, whatever you can offer. And then just notice what happens. Notice what happens. That's nurturing. And just sense the difference of your experience of yourself as in the story of when you first were feeling it And just more of the awareness that's here right now, that there's maybe a little more space, a little more understanding, a little more openness. And you can tell me what you notice.
Well, I mean, this is a process similar to what I sometimes do in therapy,
Yeah.
because like I personally have a hard time to sometimes validate my negative feelings. So I tend to like put it under the rug and like pretend like they're not there. So this is interesting because it's exactly what what my therapist tells me to do. So like literally address this feeling, live this space to be and to feel exactly what it is.
Beautiful. And then do you in therapy also offer some kindness in some way to what you're feeling?
I try to.
That's all you need to do. You don't need to do it, you need to try to, because that itself is kind.
Okay.
Yeah, good for you. So thank you for sharing that. Alessandro, what's it like for you?
I don't know. I feel like I'm typically a very emotive person, so just felt a bit strange to just like I wouldn't say I like wasn't feeling emotions. Just felt like they were being replaced by like different emotions. I'm not quite sure how to put it.
That actually puts it well, that whatever was there gets a bit replaced by something, it's got a different feeling, and it's a continuous experiment. Because what happens is when you offer attention, attention shifts the experience. Now, it doesn't always get rid of it, or it doesn't always make it better right away. But the more you pay attention, where attention goes, energy flows. It actually, and emotions are energies in the body. So the attention you offer with rain is the attention of a mindful presence and a kind presence. And if you do it enough, you'll start finding that instead of being stuck inside the emotion, there's more space. You have more access to your intelligence, you have more choices. That's the power of an ongoing practice. So thank you both for participating in that way. It really, I'm very touched that it's courageous.
Thank you for showing us.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you guys are ready, we can move on to the next question, which is actually sort of still on the theme, because it should be like since we know that you are both invested in this more spiritual side, but also like know a lot about therapy, psychology. Um, when like I would have liked to ask you, when should people look for psychological help and when it is better to maybe begin a spiritual path, and how to balance out these two sides?
Yeah, so it's not an either or. It's a really important question because I know so many people that see therapists not because of a pathology, but because it's part of getting to know yourself and part of becoming more who you can be. Sometimes we need another person to help us see our blocks, to help us see our limiting beliefs, to help us see how we're always invalidating ourselves. It helps. So, that's the intelligence of the internet, is that you're weaving a lot of different intelligences together. So when you bring a therapist, you're weaving another consciousness with yours to help you see yourself better. So that's really helpful. And what the spiritual path does is it independently, it gives you the power to be able to bring attention to yourself in ways that change you, that you're not dependent on anybody else, so that you don't have to be in therapy for someone to say, this part of you is hurting. How do you want to respond to it? Do you want to bring some kindness to yourself? Because you know how to do it. So it's very empowering to be both on a spiritual path where you have practices like this and also working with somebody else. And there are times you don't need to go to see somebody else. It can be just as helpful to have a really good friend and do a meditation together, maybe a rain meditation like we just did, and then share what happened and comparing notes. It's a really intimate process and you learn from each other.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Continuing on from this, do you think there's like a specific, I don't know how to else to put it, but a target audience, so to speak, for spiritual practices?
It depends on what you think of as spiritual practices. Like if you were going to say to me what you think of as spiritual practices, what comes to mind?
First thought, I don't know why shamanism just really like the word spiritualism for me just maybe it's because they're like similar in spelling, I guess.
So shamanism is one flavor of spiritual practice. There are so many. It's one of those things that if somebody said, do you think everybody should exercise? Well, yeah. And how many different kinds of exercise are there? Like for some people, being in nature is a spiritual practice. I would say for me, being in nature is a spiritual practice because I'm learning to listen to the natural world, and it reminds me that I belong to the natural world. And every truth in the universe comes through if I just listen to and witness nature. So it's a spiritual practice. So yeah, I think a lot of people could benefit from that. And for some people, writing poetry is a spiritual practice. And for some people, following the breath helps to calm them and open them up. And so I would say that everybody benefits from having a purposeful practice that's designed to help them wake up their heart and mind. We all do, because we go into trance and our society is conducive to trance. I mean, there are so many narratives and stories that we get lost in our society, and social media makes it worse. So for us to each have a way to ground ourselves and get more clear and more open, really helpful.
Yeah. Okay, I really like what you said, and I like you named many things that I kind of already thought by myself. So yeah, I really like that. Thank you.
Oh, well, that makes me happy.
So moving on to the next question, which is maybe a little bit more off topic from what we were talking about right now. We wanted to ask you if you think that therapists need therapy on their own sometimes, or if it's like already a mechanism that works and so it doesn't need external help.
My personal leaning would be to say that anybody that offers a process of therapy needs to have gone through it. And part of going through it means being in the role of the client and feeling what it's like to be in the role of a client. Because therapy can be a hierarchical relationship, and it can actually be shaming, and it can actually lock in a sense of one person knows the right way and the other person is the one that's, not so together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you haven't been inside the process, there can be a kind of arrogance and a kind of blindness to that dynamic. Besides, we learn from the inside out what helps us heal and what hurts healing by being in the role of the client. And that gives us more skill when we're in the therapist role. So I would say, yeah, the therapist should be in that role, experience it.
Thank you.
What do you think?
I mean, I come from a point of view of maybe our generation, and like therapy is seen as something that I believe to be more normal than it was like for the generation before us. So I basically think that everybody could benefit from it if they just did it. So yeah, I agree on that part.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
Moving on to a bit like a wider view, kind of. Would you say that the central concept of your book is that most spiritual paths will lead to the transformation of suffering? Like, doozy of a question, honestly.
Ah, that's a big question. Yeah. I would say that the central message is that if you train your attention, you can experience your full potential. That's the central message, that if you learn how to get past limiting stories and be unhooked from emotional pain and really pay attention and get familiar with your heart, you can realize your full potential to be creative and to be loving. You can call on your full intelligence. And if you don't train your attention, you'll be subject to a lot of filters that will block you from being who you can be. You become a much more authentic, real, vibrant person when you train your attention. So that would be the main message. And it's true, not just individually, that I feel like collectively, our world is in a kind of limbic hijack. And what I mean by that is that the more we are feeling climate change, and the more we're feeling the dividedness of our world and the wars and so on, we're living from our primitive brain collectively. A lot of fear, a lot of anger, hatred. And so we have this evolutionary capacity to collaborate. I mean, that's what really allowed humans to evolve and become all that we are right now, is through collaboration, through compassion, through being able to be mindful. And so it feels really important that we, on purpose, evolve our consciousness, because we have the capacity. And if we don't, there's no way that, I mean, there's going to be more and more extinctions, and who knows what'll happen. It's our best hope to serve humanity and serve other animals in the earth. So that the message is really, we need to train our attention both for our own full potential and also for the full potential of who we can be as humans.
Really interesting. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay. So moving on. The next question is more about your audience. So, do you meet many young people at your like retreats, meetings, and interviews like this one, or are you kind of surprised by our age?
Well, first of all, I'm totally loving this. It's way more fun and interesting for me than what I normally do. And I've taught retreats that are just for teens. And I've taught classes in schools, in high schools. So I'm not surprised, but we need more younger people training their hearts and minds. The Dalai Lama said that if every 8-year-old trained in mindfulness, there would be no war in the next generation. And there's something in me that really believes that if young people really learned how to deepen their attention, they wouldn't get caught in bullying, and they wouldn't get caught in addictions, and they wouldn't get caught in the kind of things that lead to violence. So Yeah, so I'm curious for you both. I know neither of you have gone deep into the different spiritual practices, but are you running into many people who do meditate or who are drawn to this kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, no. I feel like that's something. I feel like it just really depends on like the age. So, for example, Julia, you're in university, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in like high school, so it's seen as very weird for my age. But I feel like when you like mature and get older and go to university and stuff like that, then I feel like, for example, like the hippie culture movement, that there was hardly any in like high school and stuff like that, but it was all in the universities really. So I feel like it's a bit similar to that.
That really makes sense. I
Yeah.
totally get it. It gets things change dramatically once you shift from high school to university. Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it for myself and for my friends that are around my age. Like literally, you start exploring that spiritual dimension of yours because everyone has one. So and it's different for everybody because I've never meditated, but I don't think that I'm not in touch with my spiritual side, if you get what I mean.
Totally. That's why when you said at the beginning that you hadn't meditated, I did not assume anything about, in fact, I kind of sensed you wouldn't be interested in having this conversation unless you had a really lively, good mind and unless your heart cared about something. So, yeah. And who knows? I mean, I didn't get interested in meditation and yoga until I was in my junior year in university. Yeah.
Okay.
Onto a bit of well, I'm not gonna say like a lighter question, but just another question, I guess. So, for example, when I was introduced to you, I listened to one of your podcasts. Um, it was I can't remember which one. It was one of the ones on rain. I know that doesn't narrow it down. But I'm currently like undergoing exam weeks, GCSEs. It's a whole thing in England. But I didn't really have like a lot of time. So I listened to it at like 2 times speed. Do you think that kind of undermines the spiritual value of like listening to something faster? Do you think that the change in pace undermines the purpose of the meditation almost? Not necessarily meditation, the purpose of the
No,
message.
it's a wonderful question. Well, let me ask you, how was it for you? Did you feel like you could take in and that you absorbed and that it was at all meaningful for you?
I feel like I understood it, but listening to you in person is a lot more meaningful. But I can't really tell if that's because the change in pace or just honestly just talking to you as a human being rather than a disembodied voice through a screen. Although,
We could experiment. I could try talking twice as fast and you could tell me whether you've taken the information as well as I did when I was much lower. But here's what I would say that if people listen to the podcast and it helps them at twice as fast in any way, then it's still useful. If you find that you're I would say for the actual guided meditation, it would be funny to do it twice as fast, but meditation takes time. You have to kind of pause and check in, and it'd be a little bit stranger then. But I did get a kick out of I get a kick out of the question. I'm going to share it with others because it's funny. So thank you for it.
Okay, so maybe now on to a more serious question, which I'm actually really interested in the answer. You talked about climate change, wars, racism, bullying that are like I feel like for our generations are really hot topics. Um, and I feel like especially when talking about climate change and war, a lot of people around our age have experienced so much anxiety for the future, and that may be something that influences the maybe the wish of having kids or like building a future like generations before us did. And it's something I personally feel, and I know a lot of my friends feel. And I wanted to ask you if what you think about it, and if you think that your approach could help with this anxiety that many of us experience.
It's Julia, that's a fantastic question. It's one of the questions I'm actually asking myself a lot, because I think your generation has way, way more stress than ever in history. And the reason is we've never experienced the threat to our collective life systems. I mean, it's just real. And anybody that's honest, their nervous system is going to register that this is real. And the more sensitive you are, the more upsetting it can be. And so your generation, younger people, tend to be more sensitive. And so I think you're registering the horror of what's happening. And it's climate change, and it's a lot more, because people are so fearful. They're a lot more divided. And so we're getting a lot more, it's a lot more oppression, a lot more violence. It's just gotten, it's hard. The governments are tending more and more towards authoritarianism, because when people get scared, they go for authoritarian strong men. So I think your generation's living through that. And the big question is not to call that like, oh, we have a mental health problem. We have a societal disease is what we have. It's not like, how do we cure a person of anxiety? It's how do we pay attention to the source of the anxiety? And I think a lot of it is disconnection. And I'm curious for you, because in my eyes, social media has translated to mean that there's less in-person real contact, like less human contact. And I'm wondering if that's true for you.
I wouldn't say I have like less human contact. I'd say, because for example, I don't know about people who are like homeschooled, for example, or like university level, but for example, at high school, it's a very structured system. Like you go in at a certain time, you leave at a certain time, you have certain times where you can break, certain times where you can talk, certain times where you can't talk. So I feel in that way, I definitely have like a minimum requirement of human contact I have. But for example, when I'm like not in the school structure, I do feel that like previous generations would have had. So for example, on the weekends, I meet up with my friends like once a weekend more or less. So sometimes now that the exams are over, like I'm having a few friends over at the same time. But I do feel that like in previous generations they would have met up more, but never having lived through that, I can't really say. But I do definitely feel that over like extended periods, I feel myself becoming more and more disconnected with other people. Yeah.
That's really helpful to hear. I mean, there's no way you could compare it to like my generation, but of course it makes sense what you're saying in school. But if out of school, that's the time. I mean, there's all this research that human contact, direct human contact, where people are playing around, goofing around, whatever it is, music, singing, being outside, whatever, but hanging out, it actually calms down the nervous system. It brings up positive emotion. The whole thing is that we are more relaxed when we're feeling connected. When we feel lonely and isolated, we're more tense. And social media is one of the main reasons that there's less and less human contact. And so, Julia, I'm curious your take on this one.
I think my take is very, very personal, because the friend group that I'm part of, I feel really grateful for them, because they're really teaching me and showing me every day how like important and beneficial can be for someone to be around people, even when you're not feeling at your best, even when you're not feeling like sometimes we just sit all together, everybody minding their business, but we're just together.
Mm.
And it's something that I noticed I've never experienced before them, because I always felt like if I was around someone, I needed to be doing something with them, or to be talking, or to be laughing, to be watching a movie or something like that. And right now with these people, like I do so many things. Like we go horse riding, we travel together, we like it's a lot of things, but we also have those moments where we're alive together and not doing anything, like no interactions or anything, everybody minding their own business. But um, it's just, it hasn't been until recently that I've discovered that, and I really like it personally.
That is so cool, because what you're describing is real friends. Real friends can, talk and be spontaneous and do stuff, and they can be quiet and do their own thing and feel comfortable enough. So that's beautiful. And you're actually deepening the sense I think we all share, which is healthy friends groups, people that we feel a belonging to, makes a huge difference. And if
Yeah, it
there's
definitely
anything I
did for
find,
me.
yeah, well, I think it's more than just you, though. I think you're a great example. My sense is that there's a lot of isolation, and to the extent that we can find ways back into connection with each other, I have my dog right here, with my pup, with nature, we need connection.
Yeah, I hear that.
A bit continuing on this subject. So for example, in our generation, a lot of like kids and teens are on psychotropic medications, I think they're called, like antidepressants and stuff like that. Like, do you have an opinion on like if they're being overprescribed or underprescribed, or what do you think they're how do you think spirituality and these antidepressants like, link together, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I'm going to ask you both your opinion on this too, okay? But I'll share mine. And it's regardless of the link with spirituality. I say that there's some conditions, some mental health problems where these medicines can be helpful, and they're grossly overprescribed. I mean, there's just way, way too much of them around because, as we were just talking about, a lot of the so-called mental health problems are really societal diseases. And so treating them by giving kids a whole mess of antidepressants or Adderall or this or that, when what's really needed is having more collective ways of learning together, collective ways of serving the larger society together, going into nature together, meditating, yoga, art, exercise, dance. There's so many other ways that are healing, that actually help to heal the societal disease, including trying to make difference in policies and trying to bridge divides with groups of people that are divided. So I feel like it can be used to cover up a societal problem, and it can cause a lot of harm to prescribe when they're not necessary. So, and I'm curious what you two think.
Julia, do you want to go first or should I?
Whatever you prefer.
Okay. I agree with you a lot. I think that yes, there are a lot of times where these can be incredibly helpful and they can help people understand themselves and like I don't want to use the word fix, but like deal with really horrible things going on with their life. But at the same time, if you're working a 9 to 5 job and you're getting exhausted, you feel like you can never catch up with deadlines, you feel like everything is crushing down on you, having drugs is not going to help that. The problem, like you said, is society and the whole purpose in which society is structured around how we're supposed to be working as individuals and how this whole individualist concept of do this, go to a 9 to 5, get a good job, get paid. I'm not saying that I mean, no one who participates in the system, it's none of their fault, really. Everyone is just participating in the system because there is no other choice. There's no other way. And I feel like that's one of the big problems. We're being coerced into a system. Like, for example, the phrase earn a living implies like we don't have the right to be alive in the first place. We have to focus on our right to life. And I feel like if we give every human the right to water, food, everything which makes a human being stay alive, if that is given, like the amount of people struggling with like mental health issues will completely, like, don't want to say disappear, but a lot of them will just completely go away. Yeah.
Beautifully put. That was very strong and understandable. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Julia.
I agree with what Alice said, especially because I feel like sometimes antidepressants or medications like that are given kind of as a band-aid being put on a wound that needs stitches. So like it's not a solution, but more of a cover-up. And I also kind of see the other side of it, because I'm sorry if I keep talking about my friends, but my best friend, she takes Zoloft, and she actually does because like she has a strong genetic factor. Like everybody in her family is depressed and they're all under antidepressants, and when she takes it, she's doing fine and she's living a beautiful life and she's excited about things and she's okay. So, um I agree with what Alice said, but I'm also, I think, aware of some situations where it actually helps without being some sort of placebo effect.
Perfect. I think we're all on the same page, and thank you both for that. That was really helpful to listen.
I wanted to ask you something. So you were talking about collectively coming together to cure societal problems and illnesses, you said. Um, I feel that because that's what I theoretically think too would help. But on the other hand, when I think about it like in a more concrete way, I'm I'm sometimes fearful because I kind of don't believe that it could happen, because I don't like I often find myself thinking that people don't have the ability of coming together that much for um pursuing something of that magnitude. So I wanted to ask you if, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about me thinking this? Like, is this because we're just hopeless, or because, I don't know, we're biased by something?
Yeah, no, it feels so important to actually put that out there, because if we say it's time for you to get involved and help change the world, that's going to be overwhelming and it's going to feel impossible and too much. But if I said to you, hey, there's a group of us and there's been a lot of pain and misunderstandings here between this group and that group, and do you want to be part of a number of us are going to try to have a dialogue series to see if we can bridge that and create some more understandings and listen to each other more deeply, be part of a listening project. That would probably feel a lot more accessible. Yeah.
Do you think this would actually have the power to, in some way, change things?
So this is where the question comes. We don't know what is possible. We don't know whether humans are going to pull it off or not. We just don't. And we can either say, well, because we don't know, we're not going to do anything. Or we can say, well, I love this world. I'm just going to do what I can in the ways that most feel available to me. And then we feel more aligned with our hearts. And we have to let go of whether or not it's going to work. We just do, because we don't know. There's no way to know. But it's a lot more enlivening to, at least on some level, engage than it is to live in a place where you've kind of assumed a hopelessness. And so I figure in my own life, anything's possible. Why not move towards what's possible? And it's really important to, I mean, right now, I'm very aware that when things feel hard and oppressive, and it looks like we're entering a lot of shadowy stuff in this world, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, to get hopeless, to get apathetic, like it's just beyond me, I can't do anything. And that's where it feels most important that we not succumb to apathy, but that we just team up with one or two others, or the local group that's doing environmental activism, or an animal rights groups, or whoever or wherever, and just feel like in some way we're bringing our heart to something that matters.
I hear that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now I think we've exhausted. We've still got 7 minutes to go. I think there was a plan to do like a guided meditation to like introduce us into the world of meditation, so to speak.
Sure. We'll do a very short guided meditation. I invite anyone who's listening, however you're sitting, just to feel like you're sitting in the most comfortable way possible. You might want to close your eyes or lower your gaze. That lets your attention turn inward, and notice what happens if you get still and you turn your attention inward and just become aware of your breathing for now. You might take a really deep, full in-breath so that you're filling your breath with your whole attention. You're just filling your chest and lungs, breathing in, and then a slow out breath so you can feel the sensations of releasing the breath. And then a nice, deep, full in-breath again, filling the chest and lungs. Feel it full, hold it for a moment. And then a slow out breath. Feel the sensations of letting go. And then one more, deep, full in-breath. Slow out breath. And then let your breath come back into its natural rhythm. And feel that you're the observer of the breath. And that with each in-breath and each out-breath, you can just relax a little. That this is the time for you to let go of any tension. Maybe there's some tightness in the shoulders. What happens if you invite the shoulders to let go, to relax? Maybe you can feel with the out-breath that your shoulders are relaxing, letting go. Let your hands rest in a very easy, effortless way. And bring your whole awareness inside your hands. Soften your hands. And notice if you can feel the tingling and vibrating in the hands. Let the chest be open. And now soften right down through the stomach so that this next breath is received in a softening belly. This breath. And now this one. And again. Now see if you can feel your whole body filled with awareness. So it's like a field of sensation. Just notice the tingling and the vibrating, the warmth, the cool. And as you listen, you can widen your attention so that you're letting the sounds around you wash through. So that you're listening to and feeling this whole moment. Alert and relaxed. And from this place, you might scan your life a little and sense if there's any place where you're having a bit of a hard time, any place of difficulty. And you might explore just offering some kindness to yourself. You might put your hand on your heart and just sense that you're offering some kindness to the part of you that's having a hard time. And notice what happens in the moments that you offer kindness to yourself. It could be a simple message of, it's okay. And if it's hard to offer kindness to yourself, you could imagine somebody you care about offering you kindness. Just notice what happens. And then letting your hand relax down if your hand was on your chest. And just feeling what it's like to be right here in this breathing body, present and kind-hearted. Okay, nice full breath, and feel free to open your eyes, come back. So that's a little taste of what we call coming into presence and cultivating kindness.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Tara.
Tara.
Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank both of you. I thought you did a fantastic job in terms of interviewing me, and I loved hearing your wisdom on some of the different topics. So it was really good to be with you.
For us
too.
Great.
Great.
So I'm assuming that that's the close of the recording.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Tara. Thank you so much.
Ah, we've got the rest of the team back. Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome.